Joining me now is Ambassador Nick Burns, Professor of International Relations at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government and a former U.S. Ambassador to NATO under President George W. Bush. Good to see you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much.
If we go on the assumption, we spoke to Senator Cardin. He has called President Bashar al-Assad a war criminal. He says he has to go. The question I think a lot of people have is, if Assad does go, would that help stabilize the region?
Well, it's unclear at this point. I certainly understand why Senator Cardin would say that, given the attack on the United Nations convoy earlier this week, and given the loss of life there, and given the repeated attacks by barrel bombs, by aggressive air campaigns against the civilians of Aleppo and many other Syrian cities. President Assad has terrorized the people of his country, and he certainly has blood on his hands. The only question diplomatically is whether or not the backers of President Assad, the Russian Federation and Iran, would agree in any kind of diplomatic negotiation in the future that Assad would leave from power. So that's ahead of us. I think the urgent priority right now is to get United Nations and NGO relief aid, humanitarian food and medical aid into the besieged city of Aleppo, and to do something about the millions of internally displaced Syrians, people who've lost their homes and have no place to go as they dodge this vicious Syrian government and Jabhat al-Nusra, the al-Qaeda group, and the Islamic State. And so it's a true humanitarian crisis, I think the most serious in the world today.
And yet, Ambassador, Syria has been carved up. I mean, you've got ISIS holding on to territory. You've got the Kurds holding on to a piece of it. You've got the various rebel groups, and you have Assad. Even if he is to stay, even if he were to stay, would that country ever be able to be put back together again?
Well, I think Syria is extraordinarily divided right now. I don't see that it's going to be possible in the next few months or years to put Syria back together completely again as a nation state. But I think all of us who have influence, and the United States has influence, have to work, first of all, stop the fighting, aid to the refugees, medical and food assistance to those people who are starving and are living without it in places like Aleppo. And then there's going to have to be a tough negotiation, perhaps at the end of this year, perhaps in 2017, where we try to use the influence of the United States to promote a ceasefire and some kind of political settlement that would in essence be a power-sharing agreement. I don't think Syria will be put back together, certainly not under Assad's leadership. You have Sunni centers of power, you have Kurdish centers of power, you have Alawite and Shia and Christian centers of power, and so something has to be done to put those people back into some kind of diplomatic arrangement, political arrangement, where they can stop fighting and agree to try to resolve their differences in some kind of transitional government.
Ambassador, you mentioned the Alawites. That is the sect of Islam that President Bashar al-Assad belongs to, he and his family. Over in Jordan, another minority rule there, King Abdullah, he is and has been a staunch ally of the United States. The question, I think, is, can he influence? He's been very beneficial and helpful to the United States, but can he help bring some of these other Arab countries to the table to provide the same assistance that Jordan has been providing to the United States? Because it feels right now that Jordan is really the only one that has been at least as big of a partner in the region as the Israelis have been to the United States.
Well, if there is to be a cessation of hostilities, and if Syria has any chance of finding its way back to some relative stability and even peace in the future, if one can even use that word right now, given the state of destruction, it's going to require the efforts of all the Muslim countries around Syria. And that includes, of course, Jordan, which is a frontline state. It includes the Gulf Arabs, countries like Saudi Arabia. There'll be a need to rebuild this country whenever the fighting can stop. And it definitely includes Turkey, which, of course, is a neighbor of Syria. And Turkey, under President Erdogan, has now conducted a military offensive where they're inside the northern border of Syria itself. And Turkey could be a country that could possibly be a place where refugees could go to seek a safe haven and to seek some protection from the vicious fighting in this war.
Ambassador Nick Burns, fascinating discussion, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us.
Thank you.